So let me give you guys a quick tour of my room where I shoot these videos in. As you can see, I did add some acoustic panels to help sound treat this room. And I did my best to find some neutral colors so it looks nice and complements the gray wall. But I want to know if you headphone users out there can actually hear a difference. So here's what it sounded like before I added the acoustic panels. For me personally, I do want to spend more time with the family and always put work second. And here's what it sounds like after, obviously. So let me know in the comment section if you guys hear a difference. If you're not using headphones, then you probably can't even tell. And with that said, welcome to Setup Wars episode 284. If you guys want to be part of the show, make sure to watch the video link down below. But with that said, sit back and relax, because you know what time it is. Standing out in the world of social media is harder than ever. It's saturated, plus there's so much competition right now. So if you want to separate yourself from everyone else, you gotta change things up. And well, with today's sponsor, Storyblocks, you can finally take your content to the next level. With unlimited access of over 1 million assets from their library, Storyblocks has everything you need to make your content stand out from the crowd. From really cool 4K video backgrounds that capture your audience's attention, images, sound effects, and even music which you're hearing in the background right now. The cool part about all of this is that all the assets are royalty free, so you can use your downloaded content anywhere for commercial and personal use, however many times you want. So if you're really interested in taking your content creation to the next level and maybe even make a living off of it, then you should definitely check out Storyblocks by using my link down below. They have subscriptions for every budget, so you can choose a plan that works best for you. If there are any setups that make a statement right off the bat, it's definitely this one. Austin from Wisconsin decided to build a setup around the theme of Beautiful Joe, which is one of his favorite games. This guy has went all in, not just with the color scheme, but with the props as well. I mean, we got the famous red curtain as the backdrop with a stanchion, I think that's what you call it, on the side. And there's even a custom-made movie mark made from wooden scraps. This setup is looking more like a movie theater than anything, and I love it. So the setup was built for the purpose of mainly gaming and entertainment. We got dual 24-inch monitors side by side sitting on a desk he picked up from the Facebook Marketplace for only 50 bucks. Not a bad deal. For peripherals, he keeps coming back to his iBuy Power keyboard with the Boss C keycaps and a matching Logitech G502 mouse that was skinned to fit the color scheme. Looks very clean, by the way. Moving over to audio, he does use a set of Logitech A250 speakers and the HyperX Cloud 2s for gaming. I bet you picked up the Quadcast microphone specifically because of the red LEDs. The setup does look a bit busy and cluttered, but I think he did a good job spacing things out to a point where there is enough space even for his custom PC. This thing is heavily modded, by the way. We got a Ryzen 9 3900X paired with a GTX 1070, but it's got some really nice custom work in here as well. He skinned the motherboard tray, added a custom GPU backplate, and some RGB SSD covers. This man is determined to stick with this theme, and I love it. You know, for some people, this might be a bit too much, especially considering the harsh red colors, but I like it. You know, if it was just the color scheme and a few wallpapers and maybe figurines, I wouldn't have, but the fact that he put in a lot of effort in the props and the custom work is why I think this setup turned out amazing. Well done, Austin, and thanks for sharing this with us. Here's another setup with an impressive presentation. Lots of really cool mods done to the setup to make it stand out and unique compared to the competition. Like the custom L-shaped desk, for example, that has this really cool marble look. It definitely stands out. Another cool thing I noticed is a custom floating shelf up top with RGB lighting. Although it's not exactly straight or serves any purpose, it still adds a nice creative and unique element to this setup. Denny is a freelance app developer from Indonesia who built this setup in just 4 days for the purpose of video editing, graphic design, and gaming. I guess when you think about it, there isn't really a specific type of theme going on here. I mean, for colors, it's mostly white and black with RGB lighting, and it seems like the setup is built more around motivation than anything, because I do see a few motivational decorations that are proudly displayed. This definitely contributes to the personality aspect of the setup and already tells me a lot about Denny as a person. For monitors, he's rocking a T-monitor layout with a 27-inch as the main and a 24-inch in vertical mode for multitasking and Discord. Below that, we got the Rexus MX10 keyboard with a Fantech mouse and a pretty cool mouse pad that brings it all together. The The setup does have two sets of speakers for different types of content. We do have the Fantech RGB gaming speakers, probably for gaming I'm assuming, and the Polytrons up top for monitoring sound and listening to music. I do love that you hooked up the speakers in the wall, but since they are further away from the center, you should probably rotate them slightly towards you for better audio. Powering the setup is a custom budget build equipped with a Ryzen 5 3600 and an RX 570. I do see an effort put into cable management using some raceways and adhesive, and there is also effort into maintaining a symmetrical setup. I think the motivational stuff you have around your setup is really nice, and overall you did a really good job putting everything together. Thank you, Danny, for sharing this with us. I probably should have saved this setup for the next teen edition, but I couldn't resist. So Eric is a student and part-time warehouse worker from Estonia who saved up 2 months of paychecks to build his dream gaming setup. My guy, how much are they paying you over there? I love how he just blew all of his earnings on the Nanoleaf panels and custom PC. My guy did not hold back here, but I do have to give Eric some props on spreading the budget of the setup in other areas as well. What I've often seen on Setup Wars is that most people drop a lot of money on their PC to make it look nice and get the best specs, but completely disregard everything else, including the monitors. So then they are stuck with a high performance system that they can't take advantage of because they are bottlenecked by their 60 Hz refresh rate monitors. It's nice to see that Eric shared some of the budget with the monitors and picked up 244 Hz displays from BenQ. I always recommend budgeting for your PC and the monitors first before the rest of the gear. And it looks like that's what Eric did as well. He picked up a Razer Huntsman Mini with a SteelSeries Sensei mouse. Now for primary audio, he does use the Logitech Z200 speakers in white, but swaps over to the Razer Krakens for gaming. I'm not one to usually recommend peripherals since that is entirely up to preference and budget obviously, but I'm curious as to why you didn't pick up the Viper Ultimate from Razer. I think it's a better mouse personally, and it would have matched your setup a lot better. After all, you did put in an effort to paint your boom arm and microphone in white for the color scheme. Hell, even your PC matches the setup's colors. We got a gorgeous all-white build featuring the 10700KF and the Gigabyte Vision RTX 3060. Very nice. So another thing you can do to further add to the white color scheme is simply skinning the bottom bezel of your monitor. It's usually the smaller things that make a big difference, but other than that, it's a pretty kick-ass setup for a 16-year-old. Thank you, Eric, for sharing this with us. So let's try something new on the show, okay? I want you guys to guess how old Jason is based off of his setup. Toss your guesses in the comment section down below. I'm really curious to see who can get it right. If you guessed 28, then you're correct. This setup definitely seems like a more mature setup with the wooden accents, greenery, and no RGB lights. I'm definitely loving the cozy and warm vibes already. Jason is an admin assistant from the Philippines who built the setup in the span of 2 years for only one purpose, and that is gaming. I'm loving the full-on commitment to the nature theme of the setup. You know, it's very hard to find a nice balance between greenery. I feel like some people either overdo it or don't put enough. Unless your name is Carter, your setup shouldn't look like you're in Vietnam. Everything is done on a single 27-inch 1440p monitor that's mounted against a custom desk. And below that, we got the Corsair Iron Claw RGB mouse and the GMMK Pro with a nice set of black and white keycaps from GMK. Very nice, going with a brown cable comb, by the way. We can see more of the commitment through his audio gear as well, from the Edifier speakers to even the metal frames from the HyperX Cloud headphones. I mean, they're technically gold instead of brown, but I'll accept it. Cables are perfected, no complaints here. And then finally, we got a super silent and camouflaged mini ITX system in the corner, packing the Ryzen 5 3600 and the RTX 2070 Super. You know what I love most about the setup? It doesn't feel like a regular setup. It feels more like a home. I love the way he furnished and decorated it so it doesn't stick out like a traditional setup. Like in most other submissions, you guys can clearly tell a setup apart from the rest of the home, right? But this one feels like it belongs in the same space. Seeing how far you've come from your original setup and how much your taste has matured over the 2 years is very inspiring. Thank you, Jason, for sharing this with us. Wrapping up the episode is Tate and his pretty cool custom Setup Wars inspired dual stacked setup. He's a landscaper and installer from the USA that took him a total of 3 years to save up and build this setup. Man, you guys have some impressive occupations at such a young age. At 15 years old, I was still breastfeeding. I guess some of you guys are just built different. So the setup was made for a lot of things, from 3D modeling to video editing, streaming, gaming, and of course schoolwork. So that setup is pretty cool actually. He used an IKEA Linman with a wide Alex unit and supported the other side with triangle brackets, so now he has this semi-floating desk layout with extra space for storage. Above that, he's using a single 27-inch monitor as the main, with the overhead 49-inch TV being used as a secondary and for watching content. I've seen those painted lines before on a bunch of other setups, but it's nice to see people taking the idea and adding their own color palette. It does look like most of the budget from the setup was spent on the PC and some other gear, since he is rocking a simple budget keyboard and mouse combo with no speakers. Just this trusty Rig gaming headset that he keeps underneath the desk. Normally, I would recommend getting a mount for your camera, but it doesn't seem to really take up any space on your desk, and since you didn't mount your monitor, it doesn't really make a huge difference. Finishing up with the custom PC, inside the O11 Dynamic, we got a Ryzen 9 5900X with a Gigabyte GTX 1060, which he is planning to upgrade to an RTX 3080 eventually. So while you're waiting for the GPU prices to go down, I would definitely invest into a better mouse and maybe even pick up some speakers for the setup. But other than that, you got a really nice foundation here. Thank you, Tate, for sharing this with us. As a reminder, you guys can always pick up a cheap Windows CD key for less than $15. Just click on my link below and use the code TS20 for an extra 20% off. Once you get your CD key, just visit the activation settings in Windows and change your product key. It's that simple. And that will do for today's video. As always, make sure you guys comment below. Let me know which of these setups was your absolute favorite. If you guys are enjoying setup wars so far, let me know by tossing a like before you head out, as it does help out the channel a ton. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.